Well, welcome to this four-part series in which I will be building the Minicraft Titanic model. In this first episode, we'll be unboxing the model, painting the hull, and building the lower decks. So without further ado, let's get into it. So opening the box. There's the instructions. There's the decks. There's the black base and the photo etched parts. You can see the hull. It's quite unusual. It is only in the one piece. More of the deck. There's various pieces of the structure. And with each sprue, I actually label them. They have letter coding for them, and I just find it easier to keep track of things if I put the letter on a piece of sellotape on the sprue. Be aware that some of the sprues have more than one letter code on them. So the G, for instance, goes through most of the sprue with another letter in the top left. Also, not all the pieces are in the same place. So G8, for instance, bollards can be found there and also further down on the sprue. So just be aware of that. There are some quirks with the sprues. For instance, here on the J sprue, we have parts labelled A, B, and also some of the numbers are actually buried into the sprue, so it makes them hard to read. So just be aware of that as well. Here are the decals for the lifeboats and hull of the ship. The brown decals form a line around the hull, but I painted this on instead for a more authentic look. And those are the flags, which we'll discuss much later in the series. And those are the notices that are on the stern of the ship. I did also purchase some aftermarket items. These are the deck chairs for the Titanic, but frankly I found these so small and fiddly to use I gave up on them. If you're a more skilled modeler than I am, you may find these of value, however. I did use this is an aftermarket item of smaller railings which I add to the model. This item is not specifically for Titanic. Here's the base. There's the little parts of the cradle, the stems there, which are a nice brass colour. You just need to fix the joins there or ensure when the model's on display that they're well hidden. Just a bit of filler and metallic paint should do the job. I actually paint the black base black, but left the stems and the cradles as they are. In the instructions they recommend that you open all of the holes, all of the portholes on the side of the ship, which I did, using a hand drill here for the smaller holes and a power drill for the larger holes. It's quite sturdy plastic, so it can take this kind of treatment. And it's worthwhile doing. Here is the hull before I've opened any of the holes. And here's all of the holes open now. So you can see how it does make the side of the hull look a lot more dramatic. I also cut out the holes for where the anchors go. Just cutting over and over again until eventually the plastic comes out. and tidied it up with a file. And I drilled open the hole for the third anchor right at the bow of the ship. So I primed the hull using Tamiya spray paint, and I've also primed the base, as you can see in there. And I painted the base black. The base looked a little too plasticky, unpainted. This is why I painted it. So I painted the bottom of the hull red, because that was the colour of the keel. I masked that off and painted the top of the hull white. Masked that off and painted on the brown, which will give us the line that goes around the hull. You can see it run along there. I masked that off and finally applied the metallic black to the remainder of the hull. And peeled it all off. There's the white at the top of the hull. Notice that I also masked off the inside of the hull because of overspray. I didn't want paint from one side of the hull seeping through the portholes onto the other side. And there is the painted hull. Needs a bit of tidying up, but essentially it's done. Now I painted the deck. Notice that there's a couple of small pieces of deck you also have to paint. The top of part G7 and J10. Those actually are parts of the decking which are easily missed, but most of the decking is large pieces of plastic, and here I am doing it. As with all good airbrushing, it's best just to do light amounts and build them up over time. Now on page 15 of the instructions there is this exploded part of the deck. Now I thought they were separate parts and I could not find them. I eventually realised they're simply part of an existing part. So just be aware of that so you're not caught out like I was. They are painted brown. They are in fact the bases of two of the cranes. Likewise, the same brown is used to paint the tops of the holes. And a little part of the inside of the hull, top of the hull. It can look a bit rough at both ends because it's hidden by other pieces that will go onto the ship eventually. The model comes with a very long length of microfilament, a thin wire which you cut to measure. These wires represent the cables on the ship. I actually attached little bits of cotton to these wires as better anchors. The instructions just say to tie a knot in the wire, but I don't think that's very secure, that the wire could easily slip through the hole. So there's a wire going down, the little cotton anchor at the bottom, and the wire going up again. In this case, two wires go through the same hole. And there are the two wires going through the hole. There's the cotton holding it securely. Turned it over, and a bit of glue secures the cotton. Make sure it's not hanging over the side of the part, otherwise the part won't fit into the hull. And here is the first part of the hull now, glued together. Using a paint pen, I painted the windows of the lower decks. Just doing it freehand like this is fine for the lower decks because they can't really be seen once the model is finished. For the upper decks, the top deck, the first class deck, I recommend you spend a lot of time masking all this off so you get nice straight lines. I didn't do that and I regret that now. So you'll see that later on that the framing isn't painted as straight as I would have liked. And so it take a lot of time to mask it off, but I would recommend doing it because it's would make for a pleasing result. And I'm now just painting the handrail, and these are machines on the deck of the ship which I painted green. And those are the benches on the deck, which I painted brown. And I'm now starting to attach pieces of the superstructure to the deck. The benches are angled downwards. You can easily put them in the wrong way around, but that's the way they need to go in. Be very careful of the wires that are coming out. Easily get caught, get glue on them. It's a good idea to sellotape them out of the way because they can be a nuisance. More superstructure being added to the decks. The bollards painted black. Tops of the holds, which I painted grey. So that is the first stage of the build completed. Now I should add that my build was greatly assisted by a range of YouTube videos including virtual tours of the Titanic. I've included links to those videos in the description below. And that's the end of part 1. We shall see you in part 2. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you very much.